Hey there, everyone. My name is Esmod Hanano, and here with me are Brooke Potachik, Caitlin Schofield, Kevin Mathis, and Caleb Sweeney. We're from the Georgia State Law Clinic. Our presentation topic is titled No Shame. We wanted to talk about how we can empower retail investors to speak up about their experiences with the securities industry. A common saying we hear from our clients is that Mama said it's never good manners to talk about money. Typically, we represent regular people with limited resources who trusted someone to give them expert advice. Because our clients think talking about money isn't polite, because they trusted an expert before they came to us, we spend a lot of time making them feel at ease so they can open up to us about the facts of their case. Now, far be it from us to correct Mama, but in this instance, Mama was wrong. We need to destigmatize the conversation around money. Clients have similar issues, and a community of investors sharing experiences could help future investors. Polite manners don't help much if people keep being harmed because they don't talk about money. The alternative to speaking up? Well, you might end up like some of the investors and attendees of the Fire Festival, on a beach in the Bahamas with a big old fraud sandwich. The Fire Festival is only the most recent example of a fraudster taking advantage of investors not asking questions or communicating with each other. Fraudsters capitalize on investors getting caught up in the hype and blindly going forward.
Fraud did not start with Fire Festival. We've all heard of the snake oil salesman Clark Stanley. He created a spectacular show to prove that his snake oil was a miracle elixir. People drank a mixture of dangerous chemicals because they were blinded by the hype. People buy the hype when they believe the person. Poker king Jan Lewan used the same techniques to create a veneer of credibility to lure in investors. He styled himself as a self-made businessman that people could trust. His show included an audience with the Pope. Poker King fans, mostly retirees, were tricked into investing in a Ponzi scheme. People invest with who they trust. Everyone knows about 6 degrees of separation. Kevin Bacon has only 1 degree of separation from Bernie Madoff. Bacon invested and lost nearly all of his money with Madoff. And he isn't the only high-profile, sophisticated investor who bought Madoff's hype. All of these successful and wealthy investors bought into the Madoff reputation and hype, consistent yearly returns of 15%. They lost an estimated $65 billion. Fraud is unbiased. Anyone who has money can be the target of fraud. Fire Festival defrauded millennials, the Poker King defrauded retirees, and Madoff defrauded the wealthy.
As another example, let's take a look at this initial coin offering website. To the average investor, this website looks legitimate. Add in a couple social media or targeted email promotions, and people would flock to this website, as they actually did. Oftentimes, potential investors can be attracted to these websites because they look professional, or they mention an individual who the investor trusts. What we in this room know, however, is that this was a completely fake coin offering brilliantly set up by the SEC to try and show investors that they need to be asking questions about their investments. Far be it from us to blame the investor who has fallen victim to a scheme, but we need to start empowering investors to do research about their investments and ask questions. This research is important because just like Kevin Bacon, we could all be 6 degrees of separation away from a fraud. Anyone who has money to invest can fall victim to a fraud. Potential victims could be all of us: students, parents, retirees, educators, minors, even you, and even me. One of the most common themes among all of these fraudsters or even merely negligent investment advisors is that people trusted them. And on a certain level, that makes sense. We hire investment advisors or brokers to do a job, and we expect them to do their job correctly, just as we would trust a construction worker, a doctor, or a lawyer, or any other professional to do their job correctly.
We all know Dikembe Mutombo for being a powerhouse on the basketball court, but he didn't get that way through being inattentive to his game, but by practicing his skills. Being an empowered, successful investor is the same. You can make yourself into a powerhouse investor by being attentive to your investments and asking questions. But how do investors practice? Our solution is by getting a conversation going. Today, we're starting a social movement, the No Shame movement, to end the stigma against money talk, to let people know there's no shame in empowering themselves by asking questions or sharing their stories, that they're not alone in having questions or being a victim. Investing is hard and can often be confusing, often making investors feel alone so that we'd rather hide and put our heads in the sand, but we aren't alone. There are hundreds of people who feel the same way. Today we say no more. Today we empower ourselves and each other by taking our heads out of the sand and breaking the stigma by speaking up and having no shame. We can speak up and start the conversation through using the hashtag #NoShame on social media. Social media has already shown to be a driving force for empowering communities to empower themselves. Through social media, we're starting the conversation. We are sharing our stories of what we've learned and what went wrong. You should join us. The more people who share their stories, the more empowered investors as a whole become.
What history has shown us is that people can get caught up in the hype of an investment and get so distracted by the potential future reward that they forget to look behind the curtain to see what's actually driving the machine. From snake oil to beach music festivals, we've seen how people can fall victim to hype. We want people to have no shame sharing when that's happened to them or someone they know. Social media has made it easier for scammers to create websites that look legitimate, which increases the potential for more investors to fall victim to more schemes. The purpose of our movement is to use the same platform to arm investors. We want investors to learn from each other and use our collective experiences to promote change. If we share openly about when we've fallen victim to the hype man, fake social media ads, or bad advice, then we can all be investing superheroes. All of us can earn our capes by sharing our stories and learning from each other. We can invest confidently knowing that our honesty will help another investor in the future. If something's a fraud sandwich, say it's a fraud sandwich. Let's all go forward and encourage everyone to have no shame and share their investment stories, good, bad, and ugly. If we communicate, we can educate. History shows knowledge is power. We invite you all to follow us on Twitter and use our hashtag to tell your stories or those from your clinics, with your client's permission, of course. Let's take this opportunity as a community to promote transparency in investing. Let's all have no shame. Thank you.
This presentation was prepared in connection with the SEC's Investor Advocacy Clinic Summit. The views expressed are the presenter's own and do not necessarily represent the views of the Commission, individual commissioners, or members of the Commission staff. Thank you.